الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب قلوب العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. أما بعد، قال الله في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Sweeten and revive your gatherings with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The United States Army is considered the most powerful army on the planet today. And if you ask a general within this military, the strongest military in the world, whether he's in the Marines or he's in the SEALs or he's in the Army, and you ask him what is the most powerful weapon that you use as a commander to become the most powerful army around the world. Is it weapons? Is it missiles? Is it guns? Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. The response from the American military or the American Marines is not about bullets or guns or missiles. The response would be effective habits in and off the battlefield. When a soldier has effective habits and traits, and he has made a way, what he learned as a soldier, as a lifestyle, he will become an effective habit, an effective weapon for his army. And this is how America succeeded to become the most powerful army, by teaching their soldiers effective habits in and off the field. In 2004, Iraq, in the city of Kufa, when the Americans were in a battle with the Sadri army in Kufa, and the battle took on days and hours and close to a month. Two American generals were changed, until they brought a general who had a PhD in psychology, and he would teach his soldiers and battalion how to have effective habits. And his job was to find the ineffective habits within the enemy soldiers. So he says, I came to Kufa and I noticed that the soldiers, the Iraqi resistance, would disappear during lunchtime and during dinner time. And whenever there was a small place where it served, hot dogs or burgers, I would see them leave the battlefield and they would go grab a sandwich or grab a juice. So on and so forth. So whatever that is appealing to the stomach. So what this general did was bring more carts that serve food and placed it around the American compound and where the battle was taking place. And he says, shortly, days after, they became weaker and weaker and weaker every time it was lunch and dinner time or breakfast time. And that was our opportunity for the time to strike them back and to take them and to capture them. And within days, he stopped the battle. Because he found out how their habits working, how the habits of Iraqis work in Iraq. You give them their stomach, that's it, you could beat them. He's a professor. You want a grade? Now it's become, a habit for, if an Iraqi student finishes off his master's or PhD, he has to invite all his teachers, 30 of them, on the most delicious of food for him to pass. So he understood the habits of these people. A habit can make you a strong person. It could make you a strong and effective soldier. And the first nation or group of people to realize this were the Spartans centuries ago. The Spartans were the first army to bring in habits and effective habits from a small age into their peers or the people of their nation. So when they grew, they were the most effective of soldiers. The Spartans took their child who was 13 years old, who had just turned and had seen puberty, and they gave him to an older soldier who has already been in battles, and he has seen scars and stitches, and he has already learned the ways of battle. So this 25, 30-year-old soldier took this boy who was 10, 12, 13 years old, and he started to teach him day and night how to be effective on the battleground. So that's why we hear the great battle that took place between the Persians and the Spartans. And 300 Spartans were able to hold off 3,000 Persian soldiers. Alaykum as-salam. In 480 BC, the battle of Thermopylae between the king Leonidas of the Spartans and Xerxes of Persia. But they held off these 300 soldiers with their effective habits. They held off the great Persian army through a narrow way. They were the first army to learn how to all work together. If the enemy's attacking from the left, this is the formation that we need to take. And it becomes much quicker when it becomes a habit. I remember I was also reading about how effective habits can be, not just on the battleground, or whether it's within armies. No, sometimes even in sports, habits do pay a big toll, whether your team is winning or losing. How it is their habits, if their chemistry goes down if they are scored on, or their morale drops if the opposite team scores on them. But if their habits and their coaches build up a habit for where they can withstand pressure, then they are victorious. I read about a coach who came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, an NFL football team, when they had been on a 10-year losing streak. They would bring coach after coach, and spend millions of dollars, but it was loss after loss, a losing season after a losing season, until they brought a coach who had a degree in psychology and specialized in habit changes. He added 7 habits to his team: how to mark off the hurdles, how to stand in a defense, and change only 7 and implemented 7 habits within his team. And his team made it to the playoffs that year. And the way Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching changed after this coach. They were no longer a losing team. So you can make an athlete a great athlete, even though if he is not skilled, even though that he is, does not have the greatest skills of a player like Messi. But if you have given skills to the whole team, then this whole team can overtake a stronger team, a more experienced team, like we saw today with Northern Iceland and England. England has been to the World Cup or the Euro Cup how many times? Maybe every year, but this is the first time that this upcoming team, an underdog team, has defeated a stronger team. And I can assure you it is because their coach has implemented them effective habits, how to work, how to play defense, how to play offense. And he probably teaches them the same play over and over and over again until it becomes a habit in their life. They could do it blindfoldedly. And this is something very important when it comes to our lives. Because sometimes we as human beings, we think that the decisions or the things that we do on everyday basis, they're based on crucial decisions. What we eat for breakfast, we think this is based on my own decisions. What we eat for lunch and dinner, where we go to the barber, where we eat our lunch, which gas station we go to, which movie theaters we go to, which kind of friends that we have. They're based on, precise decisions. But studies today and scholars today and psychologists today say that over 90% of our daily actions are based on habits, brothers and sisters. Habits that you make from a young age and you carry on to by the time you become elderly. And if you ask multi-billion-dollar companies how they make their billions, it's not by, coincidence. It's by building habits within the society, building habits in people. For example, you see the commercials. And I'm not telling you this by myself or from myself. This is based on studies. This is based on studies of how habits were put to place by billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies to keep bringing in company and their companies don't collapse. Even as simple as companies that are just selling, chocolate bars. They're not selling, they're not like a company like Bentley that's selling, engines for planes or making, engines for fighter jets and $1 million cars. They're selling, bars that cost $1 each. But which company is making more profit? So they say that we make habits within society. We put out a shu'ar, a theme, and through that theme, we market that theme, and through that theme, we make our billions of dollars. You're hungry? Break off a piece of Kit Kat bar. So every time a person's hungry, his brain will tell him, go get a Kit Kat bar. Go get a Kit Kat bar. Every time you're hungry, eat a Snickers. So you hear this in the commercial. You hear this in the commercial day and day after. And it's implemented to your brain. It's carved into your brain. So whenever you become hungry, your brain automatically tells you to do what? To go either grab a Snickers or to grab a Kit Kat. You might not think of it to be so effective, but this is how the human brain works, brothers and sisters. It will be your first option. I'm feeling hungry, so what do? There are people who are trying to get a diet. I'm hungry, what do? Let me go to Subway, the Atkins diet, because he saw on TV, and it becomes a habit. Is it this how people function? This is exactly how people function. He has children. He wants his children to be comfortable. What kind of ad do they use? Choose Pampers, and your child is comfortable. And you see these companies making millions of dollars for the comfort of their children. On the other hand, There are companies that made billions of dollars through giving habits to their employees, like Starbucks. Starbucks benefited more than any other company around the world globally by placing effective habits into their employees. And they have given stories of employees that they have changed their lives from being homeless into owning homes and being general managers of at least several Starbucks branches within their city. By teaching them, for example, your apron is a shield. So if you are in a clash with someone, you have a shield. You no longer have to fight with them, and always keep a smile. Alaykum as-salam. And through this habit and through this trait, when they are bringing this employee and they are teaching him and educate him such ways of interacting with customers, they build up a habit in the working atmosphere. Some people might be very weak when they enter their working atmosphere, but through the habits that such companies place in them, they become strong individuals, and they become individuals that can make it in society. So as simple as taking a shower, going to the barber, your friends that you prefer, the type of spouse that you prefer, what type of guys I like, what type of women I like, you're not really making decisions. Already became a habit for you. So, if you see a person, he's always, dating white women, you don't all of a sudden see him going and dating a woman from Congo and she's straight up black, You'll never see that because it's already become a habit within his life. So people make their decisions not based on what they desire, but based on the habits they acquire. What is a habit and how is a habit created? A habit is created by a cue, a routine, and a reward. Basically, what a cue is, for example, you become angry. And this is how basically almost every smoker starts smoking. There's something, big that happens in his life. He's very stressed out. There's a person next to him that says, here's a cigarette. This will relax you. He starts smoking that cigarette and he does feel, I'm feeling a little bit relaxed. And then there's a reward. The reward is your relief. So now your body has memorized this routine. Every time I'm stressed out, my brain would automatically tell me, go smoke, go through this routine to get your reward of relaxation. A player starts to chew gum in a very important match. He chews gum, he wins the game, he keeps his cool, his brain, and the next game, when he's not chewing gum, it will tell him, where's your gum? Through that gum, it was your reward. So even like the best of players like Michael Jordan, you see them in every single game, they're chewing gum to keep their cool, because that's how their brain tells them this is how you will be rewarded with a victory. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And same thing when it comes to society-based actions. For example, at the time of Gandhi in India, people used to clash with the government so they could take the rights. But Gandhi came and he changed the routine, and it gave a great reward. And people saw it day after day. We make non-violent protests, and it's working for us. It worked in this city, it worked in this city, it worked in this city. And it became a habit throughout the whole country to uphold non-violent protests And the rewards were great. The police were no longer hitting us. The government was no longer pouring boiling water on our protesters. It was a silent protest, but we got what we wanted. And we were rewarded for this effective habit. A person like Paul O'Neill in 1987 became the CEO of Alcoa, aluminum manufacturing company, which is one of the largest companies around the world today, and one of the richest companies around the world today. Paul O'Neill became the CEO of this company when this company was worth $5 billion. When he left years after, this company was worth $25 billion. How did he make such a drastic change? How did he change the outcome of this company? The first day when the other CEO was changed and Paul O'Neill came into his position, they had a press conference, Alcoa, and you could still today buy Alcoa shares, and their shares are not bad, their stocks are not bad. So they wanted all these investors who are investing, $1, $2, $3 billion in this company, had gathered in the press conference of Alcoa to see what this new CEO has planned for their company. They either keep their stocks or remove their stocks. They take their stocks out and place them in other companies. Television channels are there. Stockholders are there. There are people who have their own stocks and control stocks for other individuals. Some people, this is their job, they're stockbrokers. People give them their money and they buy stocks for them, and they keep building their stocks and make money for other individuals for a percentage. So Paul O'Neill sits in front of the camera. The first question he's asked is how you will make this into a thriving business, how you will change the state of Alcoa into losing billions into a company that will start making money. Paul O'Neill says, I will change the habits in my work atmosphere. And he gets up and he leaves the press conference. That's the only thing that he says to the people who are asking him. Every single stockholder goes into shock. They go to the payphones and they all call their investors, and they take every single penny that they have. We were, expecting for him to say that I'm going to buy this, I'm going to sell that. This didn't make sense. I'm just going to change habits. What are habits going to do? So Paul O'Neill comes and he changes the habits, the safety habits within his manufactories. In these manufactories, you have to know that on almost daily basis, someone's losing a finger, someone's losing a hand. It's a very dangerous atmosphere. So Paul O'Neill said, I will make it into a safe atmosphere to a point that I have zero casualties throughout the year. And when I have zero casualties throughout the year, this means I have productive workers, I don't have any sick days, and I don't have insurance money or health money giving out. And when he succeeded to do this, he doubled his company, or he made his company 5 times stronger than what he had it when he first became the CEO. So brothers and sisters, habits are very important in our lives, very crucial, especially for youth, for building their habits from an early age, not sleeping in, being effective. Reading is the most difficult habit to build. But if you build this habit from a young age, it will stick with you till the time you become gray and old. And it is the best habit to have. Some people could never run. You see some of our parents, they get heart attacks in their early 50s, late 40s. Why? Because they don't play sports. He can't even run 5 minutes. You tell him to run for 5 minutes, he's on the floor puking. Why? Because he has not made it into a habit. There are some habits that you need to build from a young age. Reading, running. There are some things that your life and body and soul needs. Prayer. The hadith says that as a parent you should teach your children how to pray from an early age. From a very early age. And hijab from a very early age. Because once they grow, when he becomes 20 years old and you tell him to start praying, it's no longer of use. When she's 20 years old and she's been without a hijab all her life, now you tell her to wear hijab, it's no longer of use. So as Muslims, what are habits that we need to change? As Muslims, as in the Muslim community, what are some habits that we need to change to become more successful and a more powerful ummah? The first and most important thing is that we need to start making moves. We need to start showing actions. Life is just like a chess game. If you're standing still, there's nothing going on. You need to start making moves until you call checkmate. If you're not making moves, then nothing's going on. But Muslims today, they're not making any moves. They're not checkmating any country. They're not checkmating any powerful industries. No, they're still stagnant. They're stalemate. They're not doing anything. They're not taking anything into consideration or into action. You move forward. You are putting things into play. That's what we need to do. These are the habits that we need to build. A new sect like the Mormons, who have only been for 200 years around, look how powerful they have become. They own so many business in the United States of America. They almost own a whole state, like the state of Utah. Their president, they had a person who was a runner-up against Obama for the presidency, and maybe within years they will have their own president. But we as Muslims, we've been around for 1400 years. Are we as strong enough? How about the Jehovah's Witnesses? How many years have they been around? Have they been around longer than the Muslims? No, they have not been longer than the Muslims. But look at their habits. Kids who are 18 years old, instead of just complaining of not even wanting to come to the masjid, our Muslim youth that are playing with their phones during the lecture, they go around from house to house, from home to home, and educate people about their religion. They've made it a habit that every single one of them goes and teaches people about the religion. He's not shy of his identity. He's not shy of his religion and his faith. And you see them of becoming the most powerful Christian sects today. Not just in America, not just in Canada. They have their hands in the Middle East. Jehovah's Witnesses are preaching now in our countries, going from home to home, in Africa, in South America, almost everywhere. But for us, it is so difficult to even get one student to come to the hawza. To get him to come to the masjid. If he comes to the masjid, he either wants to sleep or not even paying attention. But these are all habits built by the parents, built by Muslims themselves. Muslims did not build these habits. They cannot build these habits. So we are so far behind and we are losing our children. A couple of years ago in Hajj, we were in Mina and our group was attacked by a number of Wahhabis. As soon as that happened, I tweeted about it, and several newspapers like Washington Times, USA Today, Detroit Free Press took my tweet and they called me and they had an interview with me, and it became a big deal. Every single one of the newspapers had at least 2,000, 3,000 comments on it, and basically, it caused some attention upon Saudi Arabia and how they deal with non-Sunnis and Shias during Hajj. But during this time, within the group of over 200 individuals, only 2 of us stepped towards the plate. And every time we would tell them, come on, let your voices be heard. The more people speak out about this incident, they will place more pressure upon Saudi Arabia. But none of them cared, because this is their habit. It's been their habit. It's been the habit of Muslims not to care for centuries. They get hit, they don't care. They just turn around. They don't hit back. Be oppressed. Live under oppression and stay quiet. If we had the opportunity, today we have the opportunity to have our voices reach everywhere around the world. Through social media, through newspapers. If 20 individuals had spoken up, then this would have shook the world. It would have reached different newspapers, different countries. It was Zainab alayhi salam, and it was her sermon that shook the throne of Bani Umayyah. To speak out. She changed the habit of the Muslims. Speak out. It was Hussein alayhi salam who revolted against tyranny and injustice. And he did not go along with the habits of the Muslims to be quiet and to accept tyranny of an injustice of Bani Umayyah. 400 million people, 400 million Shias. We cannot take our rights. We have to stay weak wherever we are, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Yemen, whether it's in Turkey, which the Shia in Turkey have no voice. And this is reality, all based on habits. But we see a group of 2 million Muslims. The Buhra Ismailis, they're strong everywhere they go. They're millionaires everywhere they go. They're respected everywhere they go, whether they're in the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, or Iraq. Why? Because they have effective habits. The way they work. Do you know how Buhra Ismailis work? Buhra Ismailis, there's several businessmen in the community. Now, for example, Hamza wants to get married, inshallah. So we have a donation box. We have placed in this donation box $200,000. Now Hamza gets married, he needs to open a business. We help him open a jewelry store. We help him to stand up on his feet. Now Hamza is a jeweler. Within 2 years, Hamza is becoming a millionaire. Hamza starts to place money into the box. Now his brother wants to get married. And you go to the box, and there is another $200,000, $300,000. You open up another jewelry store. This is why they own almost all the diamond and jewelry business around the world. And they're millionaires all around the world. But do we have this in our community? Or we don't even ask one another, do you need help? Do you have a loan? No, we don't. We have no idea what's going on in the lives of each other. Whether my friend needs $100, $1,000, $50,000, whether his house is going into bankruptcy, whether his house is going to go for sale by the bank. We have no idea. But they do, and that's how they became powerful. That's how they became more powerful than the Shias, who are 400 million and they are only 200 million people. 2 million people. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, فَوَاللَّهِ مَا غُزِيَ قَوْمٌ قَطْ فِي عُقْرِ دَارِهِمْ إِلَّا ذَلُّوا فتواكلتم وتخاذلتم حتى شنت عليكم الغارات. Not that you just did not work upon, getting out of your stalemate position and making moves. You waited until nations came and destroyed you. And your habit as Muslims, you know what your habit is? To blackmail each other, to blackball each other. Not just to not stand with each other. And we see this in our communities. This guy opens a masjid. The next day you hear 1,000 rumors about him. Did you hear Abu Flan? He's even Sunni. They'll even make him Sunni. They'll take him out of being Shia. He's this, he's that. He's taking the money of the community, he's putting it in his pocket. He's doing this, They destroy him. Not that they don't just stand with one another, but they destroy one another. Not that they don't start the battle, they don't stand together and fight together like every single other nation, whether it's Jews, Christians, Hindus, except us Shia Muslims. فتواكلتم وتخاذلتم حتى شنت عليكم الغارات. That you blackballed each other until every single person came and trampled you. Every single nation came and trampled you. Bani Umayyah came, they trampled you. Bani Abbas came, they trampled you. Al Saud came, they trampled you. Al Khalifa came, they trampled you. And don't you see this within? Our Shias are not small numbers in Saudi Arabia. In Qatar, they're not small numbers. Al-Hamad came and stomped on you. In Bahrain, a country which is 90% Shias, how come the 10% is ruling? How come? You know why? Because even till today, even with all the imprisonment, with all the killing, between them, they still have turmoil. This guy follows Shirazi. This guy follows Sistani. This guy follows Khamenei. And I know and I've heard during Muharram they start throwing rocks at each other. If you're throwing rocks at your own brethren, if you're cursing your own brethren, the person that you need to protect and protects you, of course, Al-Hamad and Al-Khalaf and Al-Saud and all these scumbags will come and rule over you. Of course. Even though that we see the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi afdal as-salati was-salam, his words to the Shia 1400 years ago, but we have not changed. When will it be time that we change our habits as a Shia community? قال صلى الله عليه وآله الجماعة رحمة والفرقة عذاب. Congregation, being a congregation and hand in hand is mercy, and breaking down into several communities, several sects is adhab, is punishment. Just in this city, how many different masajid do we have within the Shia? Not just to the Iraqi community, but this should be told to all the Shia in this city. There's Khoja, there's Afghani, there's Irani, there's Iraqi, and there's Pakistani. How many? Lebanese. And Lebanese. 6 different communities. You can't come together like the Sunnis and build a school like that school that they have, or a masjid like they have. Which one is better? Having one masjid that 20 people attend, or a masjid that there's 500, 600, 700 people attending? And there is 700 people participating, 800 people worrying about the masjid, the fees of the masjid. Which one is better? If 10 people were told that today A group of villains will enter a city. Is it smart for these 10 people to scatter or to stand together and fight together? Smart to stand together and fight together. Because once you scatter, it's very easy for the wolves to get you and to hunt you. You can't fight a pack of 20 wolves by yourself. But unfortunately, every city we go to, every state we go to, every country we go to, we have this same problem. The Shi'as are always scattered. وعن أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام في تحذير من الفتن لا تكونوا أنصاب الفتن وأعلام البدع وألزموا ما عقد عليه حبل الجماعة وبنيت عليه أركان الطاعة. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, don't be the one who goes and destroys communities. Don't be the one that destroys the jama'ah, the unity, the congregation. Don't be a flag of fitan and corruption. وَأَلْزَمُوا مَا عُقْدَ عَلَيْهِ حَبْلُ الْجَمَاعَةِ. And hold the rope of congregation and unity. وَبُنِيَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَرْكَانُ الطَّاعَةِ. Through congregation and unity builds the house and the fortress of ta'ah and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Also, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, يميت القلب ويجلب الهم من اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم وتفرقكم على حقكم. It breaks the heart of your imam to see you being scattered while you have the haqq, you have the real religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to see them be united even though they are on the wrong path. Is this not true, brothers and sisters? This is true. So there are habits that we need to change as Muslims, and there are habits that we need to change as a Shia community, as a Shia sect. We need to come together. We need to put all these things aside, whether he's Pakistani, whether he's Afghani, whether he's Iraqi, Irani, or which marja he follows. And we should unite, especially in these countries when our children and our youth are attacked daily. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.